I'm surprised that they put this story out, because they technically shouldn't have put this story out until tomorrow, because they're talking about how much money they did for the month of February. So obviously that means that nobody is getting raided or taking anything from any of their stores in New York today, because Weed Be Gone NYC sees $262,000 in marijuana products from unlicensed sellers in February, the sheriff says. The NYC Sheriff's Office has been busy weeding out illegal pot dealers in February, seizing more than $250,000 in merchandise from unlicensed retail sellers. Sheriff Anthony Miranda announced on Friday that his office had seized over 34, or has served over 34 inspections of stores selling marijuana without a license over the past month, leading to the seizure of about $262,000 worth of cannabis plants and edibles. The 34 stores that Miranda's office inspected and made seizures at during February made up a small portion of the over 1,400 shops that there are illegally selling weed and cannabis products across the 5 boroughs. The sheriff's office has conducted the inspections alongside the NYPD, the fire department, the city department of consumer and worker protections, and the state office of cannabis management, which are all part of the Cannabis NYC Integral Enforcement Task Force. Man, that makes them sound super important. The sheriff said his office also captured $45,000 worth of cigarettes and made 2 arrests that resulted in the seizures of 2 guns. Adams convinced the task force in November to combat the scourge of unlicensed weed sellers that have proliferated across the city after the state legalized marijuana nearly 2 years ago. So far, only 3 licensed cannabis shops have opened in the city, all within several blocks of each other in Lower Manhattan, including one that's outside of the city that the governor recently visited and didn't even buy anything from. Sheriff Miranda said the city is cracking down on these unlicensed pot sellers because the unregulated products they're slinging have the potential to get people sick. In a quote, the unregulated businesses present a certain health hazard to all of our communities, Miranda said. We want to protect our communities against getting sick or smoking some product that is mixed with products we don't know about. There are only 3 legal cannabis locations that have been operational so far in the city, he added. So anybody else operating is illegal or unlicensed, he says. Miranda provided the statistics in the first of a new series of briefings that Mayor Eric Adams, Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Phil Banks, will hold each Friday at noon on the state of public safety in the city. Wow, let's mark your calendar, Jeff, every Friday. Friday's briefing coming up will include both updates on public safety from Adams administration officials and a portion where they will take questions from the public. Miranda said that the task force has conducted 142 inspections overall since it was conveyed a 129% increase and issued 285 violations so far, accounting for over $500,000. It also captured over 8 million in illicit products. Wow, those numbers jumped up real fast from what they're talking about. The sheriff's office has been prioritizing which locations to inspect by looking at where children have reportedly had overdoses or people have gotten sick, as well as those that are closest to schools or houses of worship. He said they're also looking at locations that they hear through community complaints. So basically from snitches. One big problem, Miranda said, is that many of these stores are selling cannabis products placed in packaging that resembles candy and snack foods consumed by children. I mean, is that really the problem, you guys? In a quote, a lot of these locations are packaging toward children, he said. They have Frito-Lays and they have all the major labels that are frequently used by children. In fact, when you go into stores, you'll see that these edible products and candies that they're selling packaged for children are right next to the regular products that the children will often buy, and the sodas as well. Man, these parents. The legislation that legalized weed in New York dubbed the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, set up the NYS Seeding Opportunity Initiative, which is geared towards first granting cannabis licenses to those that have been impacted by the war on drugs or nonprofits that assist them. So far, it's been all nonprofits that have opened up. Those who've called for coming down on illegal sellers have argued that the activities undermine the burgeoning legal market by robbing those most impacted by punitive marijuana laws the opportunity to be the first sellers in the new weed market. And the NYPD filed a lawsuit in New York City Supreme Court against 4 East Village stores. The department said its officers have observed illegally selling the substance without a license, in some cases to minors. Bragg's office also mailed letters to 400 smoke shops it believes are selling weed illegally, warning they could face eviction if they continue to flout the law. Adams said tackling illegal weed sellers has become a major priority for his administration. Following an unrelated press conference at City Hall on Tuesday, he spoke particularly about the impact that unregulated cannabis sales could have on young people. We are up to about 1,500 illegal cannabis shops. That didn't make any sense. Why he would, how that makes sense. The mayor said at the time, and it's not only that they are selling illegal cannabis, they're also targeting young people, he says. The children are waking up in the morning, going to the store, getting gummy bears that's laced with marijuana, and then they're going to school to learn, he added. And they're opening up all around us. No, no, no. We are losing our grip, he says, Mayor Adams. Well, I want to see what you guys have to say. And we have Jeff Schultz, who is a lawyer in New York, who is right there on the ground. I mean, you've been watching this whole thing burn to the ground. What is going on out there in New York, Jeff?